But
tough deck.
We've officially reached the halfway point of our Super Saturday. We started off fast. Now we're starting to slow down a little bit with some of these more intricate matchups. We're going to move into match number 4 here. Nalguidan versus ETC. And we started off the day with a nice, low-pressure battle for first place with Bloody Face versus Just Saying. But it's in the middle here, the meat of Super Saturday. We're starting to get to the high-pressure matchups. Nalguidan pretty comfortable in playoff position, vying for that first place spot, whereas ETC, especially with Strife Crow's win earlier in the day, is now firmly in that relegation spot, that 8th place spot. And if he loses here, he's just going to get even worse for him. So a big match coming up for ETC.
Yeah, and Strife Crow was saying that he's in a good mood, so he's probably going to hang back and watch. Refused to confirm that he roots against his rival in ETC.
I would not blame anybody for saying they actively root against players that are fighting against them for relegation.
Why wouldn't you? It's just human nature, right? Like, I think people want to come out and they want to sound polite. Like, no, I'm not. I don't want anyone to lose. Of course you do. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even if it was me vying for relegation and I was competing against you, Admirable, and Frodan, I would actively root against you, despite being quite fond of all 3 of you. So.
Oh, thanks, bud.
I mean, that was also a... I said I would actively root against you,
Yeah, but you said you were fond of me afterwards.
Okay, let's move on. Let's talk about some Hearthstone gameplay. Warrior protected from Nalguidan, banned the Druid away from ETC. Priest protected and Priest banned from ETC. So a little bit of a deviation for Nalguidan, but pretty standard for ETC. He's like, I'm protecting this Priest, and I'm taking any opportunity I can to get the Priest away from my opponent.
Yep. So Nalguidan choosing to protect that Warrior, and why exactly is that in this series? Why is he going with it over the Priest? Because I'm looking at these lists and I'm not seeing any huge discrepancies that would lead to that situation, apart from Nalguidan playing the Malagos Druid. But I don't see why that's a reason why Nalguidan would want to protect his Warrior.
So his Warrior, if he bans away the Druid, has a Warrior Mirror matchup.
Yep.
In which ETC has Azalina and Archivist Elysiana.
Yes.
So very rough.
Yes.
A Shaman, which is a bad matchup.
Yes.
And Priest, which I guess is a good matchup for him because of the way he's built his lineup. So maybe his goal was protect Priest or protect Warrior, and specifically queue Warrior first to try and hit Priest, assuming ETC would protect Priest.
Okay. Not sold. I feel like Nalguidan just doesn't get to play Priest this series for no reason.
Yep. And even like his techs aren't as good against ETC because he's got the double Hecklebot tech, but he's not playing against Malagos Druid or Holy Wrath Paladin because ETC doesn't have either.
Right.
And Priest has 2 really good matchups. With both the Druid and the Shaman on the side of ETC. So, I'm confused, but we can move past it now because what's done is done. What's banned is banned.
Live in the now, TJ.
I will. And right now, there's an Evil Totem on board. So we've gotten to see this matchup, I think, a few times already today. And I'll tell you what. Warrior just feels like it dies.
There is little time.
That's the kind of analysis we're looking for.
Slowly.
Yep. Sometimes slightly quicker, but usually just at a fairly medium pace. And that card in hand right now for ETC, Barista Lynchen, is absolutely one of the key cards in the matchup. ETC just plays everything on turn 3. Okay.
So this doesn't play...
No tomb can hold me.
I guess this gives him the benefit of killing the Restless Mummy if it were to come down.
Yep.
That's the only tangible benefit I can see.
Nalguidan had to decide there which lackey he would like to leave up in the world of Bog Sloshers, and then just to illustrate the point, Bog Slosher comes dancing off the top. You never seen a box slusher dance, TJ?
Dancing.
Look,
He doesn't even have legs.
Look, it's subtle casting 101, right? Never say anything in plain language when flowery language will do the job.
You make up for your lack of flowery tones with flowery language.
There you go. That was quite flowery in itself. Well done.
Well, Dr. Boom Mad Genius picked up the kind of crucial piece in the puzzle for Warrior to win is being able to play Dr. Boom safe.
Yeah.
It's still not by any means a guaranteed matchup when you're able to do so.
Nope.
But it helps your odds considerably.
Yeah, I think, you know, Dr. Boom in general has now kind of reached a tipping point where I'm kind of comfortable with where it's sat in the metagame. I hesitate to overstate that too much, but because Omega Assembly is now so much of a weaker card to the point where most people are cutting it down to 1 or in some cases playing 0, because Delivery Drone is weaker now, just Dr. Boom on its own does not feel like you're staring down 10 cards on the other side of the board and they just get to blow you up every turn, right? Because they very rarely get like this insane card quality to go alongside that.
Excuse me, Delivery Drone and Omega Assembly are better now.
Go on.
For the reasoning that I believe in certain matchups, neutral mechs are better than warrior mechs.
There's little time.
Sure. Snip Snap against Shaman, better. Ziliax against Shaman, better. They're one-to-one counterparts. Let's say Beryllium Nullifier and Omega Devastator.
Uh-huh. I will still take all of the Omega Devastators. Thank you very much.
I'll take a Snip Snap instead of an Omega Devastator.
What about Dinomatic instead of Snip Snap if we're doing direct equivalents
Snip
against
Snap.
Shaman? Really?
Yeah. On 10 mana, which you would guaranteed have 10 mana most of the time playing a
Oh, we're
full
assuming
value.
you're in Dr. Boom form already and the Snip Snaps can all rush, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, yeah, fair.
It's more efficient damage that can be split in a more controlled way.
Sure.
Though I do like 2 Mordants. But Snip Snap is still more immediate damage, rush damage onto the board.
In the Warrior Mirror, Mechathune is still terrible.
Always taking the opportunities to throw that in there whenever you can. All right, so ETC, kind of an expensive hand. He is at 5 out of 6 for the quest, so this Novice Engineer will complete. And then Mogu Flesh Shaper. Because of his hand, I honestly would like the Bog Slosher. No, he wants to deny that. Okay. Because he's running low on resources, so what I want to do is kind of protect my resource generators post-quest.
Right.
But it's a matter of, do I guarantee I get more resources, or do I guarantee my opponent gets less cards?
Ooh. Tempodillo with just a Hecklebot in the hand. That's a big pickup for ETC, though. Just as his hand was running a little bit dry, he now has a really juicy-looking hand with these Evil Cable Rat, with the lackeys, with Barista Lynchen. Might want to wait to tie all those things together in one turn.
Yeah, I think Barista is one of the more important tools.
For sure.
You can kind of interchange Barista and Shutterwalk. I think I'd prefer Shutterwalk first in most instances because it, kind of develops this board, but you have a less guarantee of the resources that you're getting. So it's kind of like a generic resource generator, whereas Barista is a more controlled, this is what I want to do type of style.
Hits the Witchy Lackey, which I think was his #1 reason to use the Cable Rat that turn. With that Mogu Flesh Shaper on board.
So he can go Titanic Lackey, and then trade everything on board. Titanic Lackey and then Mogu Flesh Shaper, and then Witchy Lackey.
Yep, sure.
Or alternatively, he can just trade everything on board. Mogu Flesh Shaper, the fresh one, and then Witchy Lackey. I kind of like the Titanic Lackey play more because then you have a Mogu Flesh Shaper in hand.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you.
Because now he floats 1 mana and doesn't play that Titanic.
Oh, live 1 turn. Just 1 turn.
It's not going to live. There's 0 chance in the world that this lives.
Come on! Oh, Nalguidan, where's your sense of fun? Come on.
I would float 50 mana and miss lethal damage in order to make sure that this does not live.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah, honestly, I think, you know, having the Mogu Flesh Shaper in hand for another Witchy Lackey or for a Mutate might be better. Yeah, I don't know. Small things, but... All right, here comes Barista.
No big deal. Quick draw 6 this turn. Excellent.
Now, if Barista lives, he can Fog Slash of that, which is just insane.
It's marginally less exciting. But honestly, might just be better in the grand scheme of things.
Face me, you tempting tyrant!
Why does Nalguidan hate fun so much?
Because he's sick of getting unlucky. What do you give the hand that has everything?
I wonder.
An Earth Shock, apparently.
This is a pretty strange territory for me in Shaman, as I mentioned earlier on. These are probably the more difficult turns. Because whenever I'm faced with these situations, I don't really think I just gotta play my cards.
I mean, honestly, for the first, like, little while of playing Shaman, I kind of did the same thing. I think it's,
There is little time.
you know, just staring at this hand and trying to work out what the perfect turn is from scratch. Like, when you first start playing Quest Shaman is kind of a fool's errand.
Yep.
Like, you're just not going to get there. I mean, maybe some people do learn like that, but for me, it's very much a like experience thing where like I do something and then I realize why it was wrong to do that, then I don't do it the next turn, and then, you know, incrementally, game after game, turn after turn, I start to learn how to navigate situations like that a lot better.
We didn't get the Witchy Lackey. I don't think it's that big of a deal. It would have been a 4-drop, but those little power increments can make a big deal. I think the biggest thing when you're faced with situations like this is build a board, but leave your hand at the same size as it was when it started.
That is a good rule of thumb for sure, yeah.
But the reason why I think this Witchy Lackey could have been a big deal being played onto the board was that you're going into Dr. Boom Mad Genius turn. We said at the beginning of the match that, you know, one of the biggest things that you need to do is try and, to the best of your ability, deny the Dr. Boom turn or at least punish it for coming out. And I don't think ETC with 8 damage on board is really doing much of that.
Right.
That was a 4-drop, all of a sudden that's, you know, 11 damage. And that becomes much more appealing, and Nalguidan still has to deal with that in following turns. Gonna want to slosh a Cable Rat here.
Agreed. If you're not going to play the life drinker game, that seems like the best target.
Yeah, and maybe, I don't know, throw away one of these lackeys as well.
What to do?
Not really great targets. He could double evolve a weaponized wasp, but looks like just life drinker is. Omega Assembly.
Thanks, TJ.
Man, I wish that was a snip snap.
Yeah, look how better these neutral mechs are than the warrior one. Oh, you're so right, TJ.
I know. I just like to play devil's advocate when people think that they're right about things.
Excuse me, that's devil's apricot. I'll have you know.
Thank you. But a Plague of Wrath used, this is kind of like the struggle for Warrior is, when do I use my removal? It's damn if you do, damn if you don't kind of situation where if you use your removal, you gain health.
Ooh, go back. All right, never mind, you can stay there.
What was the first one?
Gruul.
Girl. Okay. This is fine.
Yep, you take those. Nalguidan chose to use a Plague of Wrath over a Warpath on the previous turn. I think because he had the Kaboom Hero Power active, like just use it where it lined up like that. He has kind of the same thing as most builds of Warrior do, where you just don't have the dedicated activator for Plague of Wrath a lot of the time. So just use it when it's good is a pretty good mantra to live by. Warpath will single-handedly clear most Shaman boards anyway.
This would be a good time for a master plan.
Rest here.
Heck yeah, 110. Get him.
Witchwood Piper currently will pick up a Sludge Slurper and an Evil Token.
So if he sloshes this Cable Rat, he will go stay at 9 cards in hand, play the Cable Rat again, be at 10 cards in hand, and then have 1 mana to spend to play a Lackey. That seems like the make a board and end the turn with as many cards as you started with thing that you were describing.
Yep.
The touch of the force.
I wonder what this does.
Work. There is little time.
Really want to start sloshing some Evil Cable Rats.
Yep. Seems important. Now that he has Witchwood Piper in hand, less vital, but still important. I think before he had that Witchwood Piper to pull resources into his hand, it was a much bigger deal.
Yeah.
Really? Start chipping away at this thing? Alright, fair enough.
Yeah.
Costs him a 5/5 on the board, but he kind of played his own 5/5 by building it onto the Bog Slosher anyway.
I think it was to make sure that the Unpowered Steambot dies to a Warpath if he were to play it.
Also, just like chipping into its health now in case like another Magnetize comes down on it, like Ziliax or whatever, and then you can take it out in less attacks.
Yeah.
Makes sense. I'm on board.
So is Bog Slosher.
Your magic shall
Dancing
not
his way onto the board. Look at that guy.
Nalguidan pretty efficiently removing like every board state.
Yeah.
How about a 2-mana 5/5 that puts 2 lackeys in your hand?
Yes, please. I'll take 5.
A severe lack of Kobold lackeys.
Yeah.
It's not as relevant because he no longer has access to Barista.
Right.
Well, he technically does if he puts a bunch of Kobold lackeys on board and then Shudderwalks.
Excellent. Yeah, let's do that.
Come dance to my song.
But yeah,
it was still an evil Cable Rat.
you can kind of see the matchup though, right? Because even as efficient as Nalguidan has been in his removal here, like he still looks like he's struggling. Like he still has to get to the point where he gains control of the board. He's the one currently fatiguing first. Like fatigue is going to be somewhere around even by the time like Shudderwalk gets played or whatever. And then even at that point, if Nalguidan has to find a way to play Elysiana, ETC can just build a board that represents like 10, 15 plus damage every turn. And then the Elysiana can't come down in response. But now possibly Nalguidan is in business. That now makes it a very real prospect that he can outvalue the deck from ETC. ETC needs to be extremely careful from this point onwards that he is getting absolute maximum efficiency out of every card that he has, because you can be deliberately loose with resources with Shudderwalk Shaman because you actually want to open spaces in your hand so that you can tempo Shudderwalk at some point. But now it's just value, 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 grind, 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 and tempo as hard as you can at the same time.
Ouch.
Ouch is the short way of saying all of that, yes.
Whew. Oh, man. Well, still has access to a bunch of lackeys. Still a severe lack of Kobold lackeys. Still has access to Weaponized Wasp, and Life Drinker, and a Bog Slosher. So his ability to deal damage is still there.
Yep.
But like you said, it has to be incredibly efficient in order to get the job done.
Nalguidan looks like he's taking manual notes, like pen and paper notes. Looks like he's noting stuff down as they're getting played. I don't know if that's the case.
You know, writing an autobiography. But I think we've seen a big shift in players taking manual notes just because it can help like supplement a deck tracker.
Okay, then.
You know, things to remind yourself of.
Yep.
A lot of players, especially if you play with deck tracker all the time, you start to autopilot and, you know, not notice like specific things like on your deck tracker because you're so used to just kind of glancing over it because it's there all the time.
Also, like, deck tracker is incredibly powerful and the amount of information you can make it give you is incredible, but if you turn it all on, the screen is a serious mess, and I find that quite distracting a lot of the time. So I quite often would prefer just to have, you know, the bare minimum from deck tracker and then take manual notes about other things that I want myself.
Yep.
Ooh. Nope, that's it. Kobold
Okay.
Lackey doesn't exist.
Well, Ethereal Lackey is, I think, in this position where you need to stretch your resources. I think Kobold Lackey is probably, or Ethereal is probably even better.
I agree, yeah.
Lava Burst, sure. Again, this is a build a board and try and keep cards in hand, but it's starting to get harder because his generators are starting to dwindle.
Yes.
He's used both Sludge Slurpers at this point, both Evil Cable Rats. He has a Bog Slosh in the deck, and a Novice Engineer, but that gets him closer to Fatigue. The one Evil Totem that you can see down there.
There's little time.
Does have a Giggling Inventor.
Yes, which I imagine these witchy lackeys are being lined up for.
Yep.
No former champs though, which is be a really nice like board in a can kind of situation to have right now, just to be able to play former champ Go in any given position. Nalguidan held on to this warpath for as long as he possibly could.
Yeah, still has one in the deck actually as well. He could go for Harrison Jones here.
Ooh. Kinda
Nah.
like it.
Well, wait,
Trade into
what?
the 2-1, hit the 4-2, play Harrison Jones?
Yeah. You missed the Blast Shield,
You
And
do miss the blast shield, yeah.
and you get closer to Fatigue, but you have Elysiana to back up, but it does give you, like, the removal to buy yourself the time to, like, save this
Yeah,
Elysiana.
so like, my plan would be Harrison Jones, hope that the Warpath is in the next 4 cards. So I Harrison Jones for a little bit of tempo, then on the next turn, because I got a little bit of tempo, I can play 2 Morden and be in a good position because I have a little bit of tempo. And then the turn after that, I've bought the tempo I need to just play Elysiana and just like blow up the last 3 or 4 cards in my deck and just take that opportunity when it's available.
Yep.
But that does kind of rely on you drawing the Warpath, because you do want that card before you blow up your deck, almost certainly.
This is my suggestion. With me.
Borg Slosher! That guy, too, yes. I want all of these cards in my hand, please. Oh boy. Alright. The Weapons Project weapon is still up. Let's not get too excited. This Zephyrus is dying.
And he has Kaboom and 2 Morden.
Yeah.
So everything is dying. Kaboom, 2 Morden. You leave 1 minion up. But I don't think that's that big of a deal.
This would be a good time for a
I mean,
master
he's just got
plan.
so much life to work with at this point.
Right.
Like, ETC's pressure is super limited.
It is.
There is crazy things that could happen with the mutate onto the Giggling Inventor. You know, he could get one end of the spectrum, which he Witchy lackeys and gets Shadow Walk, it sticks, he Bog Sloshes it. He could get the other side, which he mutates it, gets Octosari, dies from fatigue.
There's the Giggle Up. 9 drops are pretty lit. Yep.
Nalguidan has 1 Brawl.
All right, how efficient is your Snip Snap exactly, TJ?
Not efficient. Nothing is efficient enough to get through Annoyertrons.
Fair enough.
Looking for Brawl, find Shield Block. Ysera's living.
No Shield Slams left.
Yep. No Plague of Wrath. His bottom cards are, what, Warpath, Brawl, and...
So yeah, this always lives a turn at that point, the Shield Block. ETC without this Ysera, though, is just out of pressure. It's just not happening. And if he can't pressure Nalguidan to the point where Nalguidan has to sweat about playing Elysiana, then he's in trouble. He needs to really like alpha into those Elysiana turns so they can't come down freely. How does he do that?
Oh, well, Dream is interesting.
It is.
If he gets another Dream, that's even more interesting. Because then he could do things like... Life Drinker, Bog Slosher,
Oh, I see.
Dream
right.
both.
Right.
And then
No,
Life Drinker, Bog...
you're not thinking big enough. This Faceless Lackey has another Zephyrus inside it, TJ. This one right here. This has got Zephyrus in it. We're dreaming that.
He's dreaming... The Dream had so much potential!
Control Take doesn't come down here, right? Really?
I don't think it does.
Really? This feels
There's a Brawl
like...
left. I want my Ysera to have the highest possible chance to live.
There's a Brawl left and a Warpath left, right?
Yes.
So you've this is worse against both of those. Those have to be the bottom 2 cards for this play to be an improvement. Is it better against any other niche situation that I'm not thinking of? No? Right?
If he were to play Elysiana?
Sure. Okay. We're just talking about that, in fairness. But I just don't think that's the situation, right? Like, Nalguidan wants to kill this Ysera first, then play his Elysiana.
Snip Snap to make Brawl higher chance?
Oh, I love that fuse thing.
I like
Really hoping Ysera doesn't survive this.
First one out.
First one out. And ETC is out of gas.
Yep. He drew a River Crop this turn.
And you're starting to see why that Shudderwalk was such a big deal.
Like, he was close. He was close this game without a Shudderwalk. So just imagine using all these resources as liberally and as aggressively as you want, and then just being able to completely refill your board and hand in one turn again. Like, yeah, Shutterwalk's a good card.
So the play here is Novice Engineer to block Bog Slosher, and then just get the nuts from Faceless Lackey to Bog Slosher back. Get the Zephyrus.
Sure.
And then do you even win from there because you just dreamed to Harrison Jones.
Right, yeah.
So if you get Tyrion with Ashbringer, he just has a check to it that you gave him.
A clever concoction.
Bog Slosher to Lightwell and hope that it makes you survive in fatigue. Doesn't work because Elysiana.
We must cleanse the Sunwell.
ETC's looking
I'm
dead.
almost out of cards.
It's probably Elysiana, to be honest. There's 8 power on board.
I think you can just 2 more
You
than
can
chill.
2 more than,
You're just ahead next turn then, and you can Elysiana next
no,
turn.
no, you're right. Because he just clears here with the microbots.
Yep.
And in fact, I mean, ETC might not even have the tools to be able to deal with just 2 Wardens.
I'm out of cards.
Yeah, last card is Weaponized Wasp, right? Yeah. So he fights back against this one board, but then he's just kind of dead. Ah, nice Blood Mage Thanos while I'm out of cards. Delightful.
Oh.
You win this one.
Yep. I think that is a very reasonable concede. You know your opponent still has the card Warpath in their hand at that point. That is not a card you beat ever in that position. So I think that concede is very justifiable. That is a very rough beat for ETC to lose Shutterwalk and Shutterwalk exactly to that Hecklebot coming out from Nalguidan. Nalguidan had Dr. Boom in his top half and hit the Shutterwalk off the Hecklebot that game.
Now, granted,
Pretty incredible.
that is a double Hecklebot lineup, so not great against everything in the current metagame. But I do like it because you have like this weird upside in unfavorables, which you sometimes get. And it does give you game against like Malagos Druid, Holy Wrath Paladin that wouldn't otherwise be there. I like the inclusion. A lot of players have gone for the double Hecklebot this week in their warrior.
I mean, even on average, like, call that a high roll you want because it was, but even on average, it's very strong against Shaman, right? Because you play a 3/8 or whatever it's been buffed to. You play a 3/8, they get a 1/1, and you've ruined a battle cry for them at the same time. Like, it's tempo for you and you've denied value.
Yeah.
Like, it's just on average good in the matchup. It's just, in that case, it killed the one card.
It was like game
you
winning.
really can't beat. Like, that and
Yeah.
Barista are the 2 cards that you just don't beat as warrior most of the time.
Yeah, but ETC now in a rough spot, down 1 game in a series where he's trying to fight for relegation. So we're going to have to go to a quick break. But when we come back, the second half of Super Saturday here for America's Grandmasters.
Legends say powerful treasures are hidden everywhere here in Aldum.
If we hope to defeat Rafam, we'll need as many as we can get. He's already unleashed the ancient plague lords and countless monsters. Keep them distracted, Reno.
Not a problem. This plan is totally gonna work. Ain't that right, Finley?
Oh, yes! I have them right, Red Eye.
There is an artifact here. The name is...
The Scales of Justice. Oh, it must be really fancy.
only to be used in a time of great peril. Yes, I think this qualifies.
Hey, look, Finley! You've lured one of the Plague Lords!
Take this, fiend.
In the face! Yeah! Hey, guys! Get that treasure! We've got a Plague Lord to destroy!
Get these, Harry. Not to worry, Finley. We'll just push this thing right here.
No, that's a trap! Watch out!
It's all good. I am totally tired.
Gracious me.
What we actually need to do is press this. And there. A fish.
No, it's the scales of justice. Oh.
Ah, who wants to use it first? Oh, I do. Me. On second thought, maybe give it to Finley?
All you had to do was hold a rope.
Here we go, blaming the tall, ruggedly handsome guy again.
I'm Facundo Pruso, more known as Nalguidan. My username is an Illidan reference. I used to play Warcraft 3 a lot. Illidan is my favorite character. Back in the days, I really liked watching RDU stream as well. After I saw him for the first time on some DreamHack tournament, and then I got to beat him on some online tournament finals. That was my first tournament win, my first prize win. That was a very key moment for me in Hearthstone. I think I'm pretty good at recognizing what decks are good and how to improve them. I like the Su playstyle. Some people think it's like broke back deck, but then you have a lot of things to master, and there is a lot of little things in that deck that, of course, you can draw 1, 2, 3, 4 and kill an opponent, but that's not gonna happen every game, and you need to know how to improve your odds. I don't know if other players already respect me or not. In my region, I think they do. I'm not sure about the other Grandmasters. This year, I really want to qualify for Global Finals. I quite didn't make it last year, so that's the main goal. I hear a lot of players say first season wasn't that important, but I think it really is. If you win the first season, you made it to Global Finals.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to America's Grandmasters. Currently in the 4th match of the day. So moving a little bit slower today as opposed to normal, but it is Super Saturday after all. Nalguidan currently leads 1-0 over ETC. Nalguidan looking to secure first place. ETC looking to avoid securing last place.
Yeah, very different stories for both of these players in this division, and it's really when you are facing down relegation, it again goes without saying, the last thing you want to see is your Shuttlebot getting pulled out by a Hecklebot in a matchup that you were feeling so secure in.
Yeah.
Like, it's hard to invent a way he was going to lose that matchup from the position that he was in, as long as he just draws his Shuttlebot at some point.
Yep.
So short of, disastrously ending your turn with 10 cards in your hand, which can happen if you make a complete mess of a Quest Shaman turn, like, he was in such a good spot that game, just all torn away from him by one cruel Hecklebot from Nalguidan.
That's right. Sometimes it bees that way. But let's get into game number 2. ETC on the Priest. Nalguidan on the Paladin. Pretty good match for the Priest, I think. There are still a lot of players in the camp of, yeah, Holy Wrath Paladin gets there. I'm not one of those yet, but I'm a couple of Priests getting crushed games away from flip-flopping.
Oh, really? Okay. I am very much Team Priest on this one. I think the dynamic of the matchup is just that as the Holy Wrath Paladin, you have to take a guess that isn't in your favor to win the matchup. And what I mean by that is there's almost always one turn where you have to say, I can't time out this turn, and I might die if they have the right stuff in their hands. I think in that position, you are often in a rough spot. Nalguidan, Bloodfen Raptors in response to this Light Warden. ETC has the goods to counter it. It does cost him a lot of 1-drops with that High Priest armor in his hand, though, so he might just want to go Power Word Shield, but that's very inefficient. I would expect potentially to see another 1-drop come down alongside that.
Oh, he could go Light Warden, coin, Beaming Sidekick on the Light Warden that he just played, bump, Circle of Healing.
Quickly.
Glad you're finding plays that amuse you, DJ.
Be 2 5/4s on board against the 3/2.
Yeah.
However, you would have only an Amet in hand going into a 3-mana turn.
Yes. And then you immediately draw the Circle of the Nausea Cleric and regret all of your life decisions.
Yeah, sometimes that happens. And sometimes you got to take those risks.
Yeah.
However, this is not one of those times, I believe. Trying to be as efficient as possible with your early game boards can sometimes be a little bit difficult as Priest, like how much you want to expend to win.
Sure.
In the light's name.
It's a pretty simple turn. Play on curve. Yep. True Silver Champion is looking pretty strong here, though. You do take a momentary beating. You do fight back against this board very nicely over the course of 2 turns. ETC debating what that Beaming Sidekick looks for that.
Quickly.
On that one.
Hey, I got you, friend.
Really?
So he chose to play around the 2 of instead of the 1 of. I think this is correct.
What's the 2 of he's playing around?
Consecration.
Consecration leaves him with his big Light Warden in play. True Silver Champion kills both of his Light Wardens.
Yeah.
What would Uther do?
That doesn't sound better.
To ETC, it sounds better.
Okay.
It's not the perception of what you do, it's
Which
what
path
you
to
think
choose?
is what you want to do.
My perception of what you just said is that it was complete nonsense. Is that accurate?
It's pretty much nonsense.
Okay, good.
To each their own, I guess, is a much simpler
There
way
we
to
go.
put it.
Fair enough. But like I said, there is a temporary beatdown that comes from having to True Silver these 2 Light Wardens 1 by 1, but they do die over the course of 2 turns, and I think that is a lot scarier than just losing 1 Light Warden to a Consecration.
Yeah, I think I'd rather have a big Light Warden.
Yeah.
I wonder.
But ETC would rather have 2 medium-sized Light Wardens.
Okay.
I see a dark future.
Would you rather fight 1 Armet-sized Light Warden or 20 Light Warden-sized Armets?
1 Ahmed-sized Light Warden.
Okay.
Easy.
Which path to choose?
Just equality?
Tempo equality, yeah. I'm kind of into it.
Because then even if some health buffs come out, you can chew through a lot.
Yep.
Nothing can be healed except your own face.
Must act now.
And ETC would have to buff the health of his Ahmed, or else everything that he would play would also die to Consecration.
Yep. This was a situation in one of Fino's early games, I believe, where I think Admiral like blew through it. It's like, well, yeah, you're in a rough spot. You can't exactly just equality here. And I was like, no, I think you can just equality here. And like Fino chose not to do it as well, and I think it did end up potentially costing him the game.
Yep. Because if they want to silence one of these very impactful minions on board,
Fantastic.
by all means.
Yep.
Now, he would have died to silence plus Divine Spirit Interfire, but that's a 3-card combo.
And now Nalguidan just has the board. Don't think you're even consecrating this turn, right? Just 3 minions?
Priest is kind of getting crushed. Paladin's favored.
Is this necessary? Is there a disaster that can happen if you leave up the 1/1? I guess there is, right? Just like extra arms is a lot of damage in that position. Fair enough. Do you think playing like 3 minions does help you fight for board a little bit better over the coming turns, though? Plays to like shrink ray top decks to be able to take down the next wave of minions if it comes. I think you're also pretty happy that the next wave of minions just isn't there, because ETC's turn was 5 mana pass last turn.
Life is enough.
And this turn, it's 2/3 heal face pass.
Yeah. It's either a spell-heavy hand or it's a Bwonsamdi hand.
Now, this Bwonsamdi hand, this is probably the greatest follow-up to Bwonsamdi that you could possibly want outside of Amet, which is a Wild Pyromancer and a Circle of Healing in hand with you picking up 2 Northshire Clerics.
Yep.
Bwonsamdi then becomes 7 mana, draw your entire deck over 2 turns.
Yes.
Which I'm a big fan of.
Wow. Again. I think Nalguidan definitely suspects that there is a lot of Divine Spirits and Inner Fires and extra arms in his opponent's hand.
Oh, and he drew the Northshire Cleric.
Just didn't draw a card that turn.
With Bwonsamdi in his opening hand, he drew every 1-drop except for 1 Northshire Cleric.
Yep.
Everything that can go wrong will go wrong.
Yep.
Who said that? Bon Jovi?
Yeah, sounds like something he'd say. Good sequencing. I was about to question the lack of Flash of Light first, but he had... Well, I guess both card draws cost him 2 mana, essentially, so it's kind of an argument which one you want to do first. Subdue, trade Blood Mage, and use the Flash of Light, but if you trade the Blood Mage first, you can draw the Crystal Smith Kangor, so that makes sense to me.
Okay, so he can play his whole hand here and draw 8 cards. Wait, no.
It's
he
a
draw
lot.
10.
Yeah, it's more than 8.
He draw 10.
It's more than 8.
He draw...
It's 12. Well, no, the cleric dies. Yeah, it's 10.
Like to play with fire?
Nalguidan felt he was doing so well this game.
I mean, I think he's still doing well.
2 timeouts to dig for a Shrink Ray. Little Zephyrus.
This...
Oh no, he played Zephyrus already.
Yeah, he plays Zephyrus already. This is 10 cards.
Yep.
Never said if he wants to overdraw a lot more. He only
With
has
his
0
0 mana. Yeah. Silences a cleric.
Prevent overdraws with Flash of Light?
Yeah, I feel like I'm silencing my Pyro that turn.
Yeah, probably.
One Flash of Light remaining.
So now Nalguidan could go for a... no. His Shirval would be reduced to 3, so he can't Shirval a Baleful Banker.
Yeah, it looks like Holy Wrath timeout to me.
Yep.
It's just whether this Holy Wrath hits a minion or the face.
Paladin's getting crushed. Priest is favored.
If Holy Wrath draws Banker, Nalguidan is excited.
What would Uther do?
Oh, he already has one on the far left. What am I
Yeah,
talking
he
about?
has one.
Oh, yeah, this turn's easy. What are we worried about? Looking for 2 or more. Gets the 2.
Act now!
Well, if he clears off with Elven Archer, he doesn't have to time out.
Yeah, that flash of light was actually really clutch. Whoa, whoa,
It's time.
whoa, 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 whoa! I'm scared. TJ, I'm scared. It doesn't die, right? It doesn't die ever. Because he got the full clear.
There was still a wild Pyromancer left in the deck.
All right. Pyro plus 5 spells. Yeah, I guess it's technically possible.
I see a dark future.
Ooh. I respect it, though. I think this was a reasonable risk to take from Nalguidan's position. It is a risk, like, don't get me wrong, but I think it saves him a timeout a lot of the time. It's still unlikely for his Shivala to die. Yep. Pyromancer plus 5 spells hand.
The end begins.
Is someone
I mean,
injured?
he's at, like, sub 20 health if he doesn't play the Shivala.
Yep.
And he leaves another minion on board, which
Exactly.
also means that, like, Power Word Shield, Divine Spirit, Inner Fire, or,
Yep.
you know, Power Word Shield, Extra Arms, Divine Spirit, Inner Fire.
Yep.
Still a Shrink Ray left in the deck for Nalguidan as his wide board removal. Also a pair of Pyromancers.
What would Uther do?
So banker's happening.
Yes.
Let's get that done.
Stash that away.
And a timeout is happening.
Crystal Smith Kangor is also happening.
Well, does a timeout have to happen?
Yeah, it does. Sorry, TJ, hold on. Hold on just a second. Your opponent has infinity damage this turn.
What am I thinking? I don't think there's a single sequence of draws that he would not die. Well, if Divine Spirit, Inner Fire
Yeah, there's hands he doesn't
were in the
die
bottom
to.
3.
Yeah. He's looking at like a double Divine Spirit hand to be dead.
Yeah.
But, you know. Like I said, you have to play that game where you have to take a risk some games, or most games, and time out in a position where you will die to a specific hand. This was not a particularly specific hand that he died to.
I mean, at the end of this turn, he's going to be at 44 life.
Yep.
I must consider.
But you can see, like, Divine Spirit, Inner Fire is lethal this turn. Even at 40.
Yep. So now ETC needs to make sure that he develops a threatening enough board to force out Shrink Ray, while also holding on to enough resources where if Shrink Ray does happen, he still has reload.
Quickly.
Pyrotopsy?
I don't know if I want the Pyro board. Maybe you want the board clear, I guess. But now, like, clearing your minions, you know, becomes a risk. But I guess with no Shark, like, it's not that big of a deal. Did he not get the extra arms off?
I've got more left in me.
Just floats 6.
Yep.
Not even a heal.
Pyro Hammer is looking pretty good here. If he plays the Pyro, though, it does separate his Pyro and Shrink Ray combo.
What would
He has another
Uther
Pyro, though.
do?
It's only his first one.
Okay. Not the draw he was looking for. Nalguidan's deck is 2 Prismatic Lenses, a Novice Engineer, a Shrink Ray, a Banker.
one more thing.
And a thing, yes.
Pyro. I hate to laugh at other people's agony, but I like when players are expressive.
All right, next question.
So,
Can Nalguidan fatigue him?
What would Uther do?
no.
What would Uther do?
So next turn for ETC. Extra arms. Neverset Ritualist. Divine Spirit.
Now!
Divine Spirit Identifier.
Which path to choose?
Do you like to play with fire?
It's 44. Just from the Psycho Pump alone.
There goes Holy Wrath, number 2. Is it hitting a 3/7?
So he doesn't die, but now he has no chance to win.
I mean, he knows there's an Neverset Ritualist left, right? So just like killing the 2/3 is the only real damage that he takes off the board.
I'm out of cards.
But I guess he was running the Shivala into that? No, he could have Holy Wrath the Taunt guy and then Shivala'd into the Psycho Bomb. Like, surely that's just much better than what he did.
Yeah.
I mean, it's much better than roping out, drawing the banker, and not playing the rest of your turn, certainly, but...
Well, ETC is going to make this series a lot closer, taking the win with Priest. It was looking pretty rough early on, but that Bwansamdi into drawing 10 cards turn was able to bring ETC back in the game and tie up the series.
Yeah, so I do have a couple of questions, though, about Nalguidan's lines, whether both of those consecrations needed to be used when they were, as opposed to just playing minions. He was certainly under threat of a read that he is entitled to have, about like even a 1/1 being able to kill him that turn. What?
A read that you're allowed to have reads.
Yeah, you are.
That's acceptable.
I'm saying it would be a reasonable read to have in that
Okay,
position.
okay.
That it was like it was a Divine Spirit, extra arms in a fire hand or something, right?
Yeah.
Because he basically passed without playing minions for 2 turns. Also, the turn where what did he end up doing? There was a turn where I was considering Pyromancer and Hammer of Wrath on the 2/3, which then took a large amount of damage off the board. He just Hammer of Wrath face and held onto the Pyromancer in his hand, and that Pyromancer didn't really end up doing anything. As I said on that turn, that Pyromancer felt important to Nalguidan because he wanted to have it in his hand when he drew the Shrink Ray. But just cutting into the damage on board was very reasonable as well to try and stop dying.
Yeah.
So I think there was 1 or 2 different turns that maybe Nalguidan could have taken there to improve his win rate. Certainly, like that last turn, he just got into a mess and roped out and didn't know what to do.
The chances that he wins from that point are
whatever he does that
abysmal.
turn, he's throwing away his win condition because he ends up having played his second Holy Wrath and having his Shivala on the board. But like, I think there was a play you could make there where maybe ETC has to consider using his buffs to trade into your Shivala just to like try and win the board.
And then you draw Shrink Ray.
And then you draw Shrink Ray, and then maybe you're killing everything in the deck at that point. Maybe like tiny fraction of a percent, but that's mostly splitting hairs. I think the more impactful decisions were the first 2 or 3 things that I outlined that maybe would have made a difference.
But the most important part of that is that he's allowed to have reads.
Yeah, he's entitled to have reads.
As stated in the Hearthstone Grandmasters Bill of Rights, Article 1 is players are entitled to have reads that they might be dead. It's just.
Why are you taking such umbrage with that choice of words?
It's just
understand.
It's funny to me.
Okay.
Your flowery language.
Thank you.
I like to pick at it.
You are very fond of
like
me.
Like a child would pick at flowers.
We've established that. We've established that you are fond of me, though. That's important.
That is very important. But we're going to jump into game number 3 here to decide it all. Nalguidan on the Druid and ETC on the Warrior. Nalguidan is playing the Malagos Druid, and ETC is playing a Spellword Jeweler Azalina Saltif Warrior. It's happening!
Oh, baby.
It's happening! So, if you couldn't understand what I said in my excitement, ETC in his Warrior deck has included a single copy of Spellward Jeweler as well as Azalina Soul Thief, which means the turn that ETC thinks he's going to die, or the turn before the turn he thinks he's going to die, he plays Spellward Jeweler to make him immune to damage to the face the next turn, and Azalina Soul Thief to copy all of the damage that his opponent was planning to throw at his face but no longer can.
Which, due to the changes several months ago now, retain all buffs and mana modifications or whatever.
Yep.
So everything that's discounted or duplicated or whatever else in Nalguidan's hand will be in that exact same state in ETC's hand.
The difficulty in this from ETC is, one, first he has to draw both of these things before Nalguidan assembles the combo. Two, he has to predict the turn that he's going to die, which is relatively easy because there's a few indicators, obviously, like he's drawn a bunch of cards, he's holding on to cards, then he plays Dream Petal Florist. Boom, that's your turn.
Yes.
It's not always as simple as that because you may Spellward Jeweler, Azalina Soul Thief, and then you get a Dream Petal Florist something that you can't use, and it was a 2-turn lethal setup.
Right.
But it does give you game in a matchup where you would otherwise not have any game.
Yes. Ooh. Despite what the previous series would seem to show us. I will say that, like, having talked about like one of the optimal ways to do it in the previous series, like if you see your opponent go Dream Petal Florist, Innovate, Flute, yeah, you copy that hand every single time.
Yes. And it makes it tougher on Nalguidan because he has to kind of formulate these game plans where he's setting up a 2-turn lethal. He's setting up a hand that, if ETC were to copy, would not kill him. But if he were to also have that hand, he'd kill him over 2 turns. But that's almost impossible because the warrior would be ahead in that stage.
Yes.
Because they have a turn of immune, so any turn that you set up that would kill them over 2 turns, they would also kill you over 2 turns and have the first turn.
Yeah.
So you have to set up a way to say, look at my hand, it's going to kill you, but it doesn't actually kill them. Which is fun. Fun to watch, maybe not as much to play.
That's where the real BM comes into play, where you just send your opponent a message inclined. It's like, my hand kills you this turn, by the way.
And the next level of that is that it actually does.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Because they think that you're just trying to BM them and make them copy your hand when it doesn't kill them, and then you just actually had lethal.
Yep.
And in the end, it wasn't BM at all. It was just you telling the truth.
Oh, you're just being a nice guy, yeah.
Yeah. But not a great hand for Nalguidan, but it could be improved very quickly by a Nourish. It could be... not improved very quickly by an Innervate. Or an Elise the Enlightened.
ETC, though, has the Weapons Project Harrison combination, which is going to help him dig for those key cards. You were saying, step number 1, ETC needs to draw those cards to have an impact. He draws a lot slower than the Druid does. That is problem number 1 in terms of, trying to counter a combo deck with a multi-card combo of your own. Is that they are going to draw through their deck much quicker and get to their win condition faster than you do.
So I want to set something straight here. You can out-armor the combo.
Sure, yep.
ETC is already at 43. Only about 40-ish more to go.
I was gonna say, you need like
before
80.
before he out-armors the combo. What's the maximum damage you can deal?
Oh, I don't know, TJ. Don't ask me that question. Like, technically, it's ridiculous, right? Because if you end up getting the perfect setup and then you Elise a Floop, you can continue to, like, Elise discounted Malagese and Moonfires with the extra Flukes Elise that you have until you run out of hand space altogether. And I don't know at what point you run out of hand space, so I don't know the answer to that question.
So you have a 0-mana Elise and a 0-mana Malagose.
I mean, under realistic conditions, the best you can get is a 0-mana Elise and a 2-mana Malagose. Or a 1 mana. Say you've drawn Malagos off Geppetto. Okay, that's
1 mana.
That's relatively realistic. Yeah. If you want to sit there and work that out, be my guest.
I'm not going to.
Yeah.
Because there are so many iterations.
Yes. But like 80 to 84 is like the biggest number that actually happens on like a reasonably repeatable basis.
Not as much as Mechathune.
Sure.
She's infinite.
Infinite damage. Can't spell Ward Jeweler a Mechathune.
That's correct. Well done.
What
Why they
now?
pay me the medium bucks.
So 1 piece of the combo assembled for ETC. 1 out of 2. 1, 2, 3 pieces, 4 pieces of the combo assembled out of Nalguidan out of 10. Depending on what else you'd like to include in that combo.
Right.
I must choose.
He's now reached 51.
Your magic shall not
Tempo Spellbreaker. Check him out.
This is to be able to have a safe Dr. Boom turn next turn?
Yeah, he wants to try and goad Nalguidan into doing a removal turn so that he doesn't have to worry about any pressure on board from like Oasis Surges or anything else coming out the other way. He can just safely play Dr. Boom. Makes sense, but we saw Spellbreaker. I mean, I say that. We kind of saw Spellbreaker being one of the big kickers in the previous game. It didn't actually matter at all because there were no spells left to use with the spell damage anyway, and the extra 2 Mordred meant that he didn't need the stats on board to compete with the Malagos anyway.
Yeah.
But it could have mattered.
It could have mattered if he didn't draw 2 Mordred because he would need the extra body to fight for the Malagos.
Yeah.
But it was not for the silence, it was for the 4-3.
Yes.
Also, Spellbreaker Dump sets up for a better Acolyte of Pain.
Speak to me.
Yeah, I think specifically just because Crystal Merchant came down, ETC is going to divert. Draw 3, kill a Crystal Merchant. Seems like a pretty powerful turn. And now Nalguidan is not pleased, and there it is!
The combo is assembled.
We've got the goods, TJ. I've been waiting 2 entire weeks for Spell Ward Jeweler to be relevant.
Watch him die with it in his hand. He's at 50, so honestly, like, Nalguidan has to do some pretty big, like, voodoo in order to kill him anyway.
Yep.
And by doing so, gives ETC more and more clues on when he should go for a Spellward Jeweler.
Yeah, now, I apologize. I'm not the most well-versed in the Malagos Druid versus Spellward Jeweler Warrior matchup. I apologize. But I imagine the games that you win more as Druid are the ones where, you know, you've pressured a bit with Oasis Surges and whatnot early on. You know, maybe dropped to Scenarios from Discover and had a bit of pressure. And then you can kind of sneaky lethal as opposed to just having like the huge setup turn, right? And then your opponent has to think twice about whether or not they're copying, and then sometimes you can just blow them out of the game.
Yeah, like you Geppetto Elise, and then you Elise with Malagos, and double Moonfire in hand, and just 24 on them.
Right.
So, like, Dream Panel Force is never used in that scenario.
Yes.
And so there's never that cue.
Yes.
Outside of maybe Geppetto, like...
Right. I mean, I imagine the games you win first and foremost is that, you know, you draw your Nourishes and the Warrior doesn't draw exactly Weapons Project Harrison, and then they just don't draw
Or Acolyte of Pain Dynamatic.
Yeah. Then they just don't draw the thing that beats you, right?
Look at the card counts. How often does that happen unless you're playing Druid versus Holy Wrath Paladin?
That's bizarre.
But it's easy for us to sit here and say, oh yeah, it should be pretty obvious when you Spellward Jeweler. Probably very difficult for ETC when he's 2-8 in America's Grandmasters. His Shutterwalk was Hecklebotted out in the first game in the series.
Yep. this one decision of when he chooses to play this Spell War Jeweler is very, very clearly like the difference between potentially getting relegated and surviving this
Yes, which is insane because none of these players are really going to make many meaningful decisions outside of when Nalguidan decides to activate his combo
Yes.
and when ETC decides to copy it and kill him.
Yes. Well, roll number 1. What 1-mana minions does my opponent have in his hand?
Is there merit in
Not playing
not playing the 1-mana
Yeah.
minions?
Yeah.
The problem is ETC's at 50. So I don't think there's a combination of cards that kill him at 50 without another setup turn.
Sure. Yeah, that's very fair.
Even if Malagos and Elise are Geppettoed. Because it'd be Malagos, Flute, Swipe, Quadruple Moonfire. And Elise.
Sure.
Which would be...
There's hand size issues again because, like, again, you're failing to account for you can at least to copy the 1-mana Malagos that you already have, so you can then have 3 Malagos in play with all of the Moonfires. But then there's hand size issues. Like you would never be able to do that with like a 10-card starting hand, right?
Yeah.
It would be ridiculously unlikely for that to happen.
That's 58.
The numbers get big, TJ.
So,
I'm telling you.
With just a Geppetto played,
Yep.
ETC can still worry about dying until he gets above 58 health.
I don't know everything about Malagos Druid, but I know that if you think you're safe, you are wrong.
Time waits for no one.
But yeah, I think, because, so in reality, like that, I guess that's hypothetically saying what we just said, but in reality, because Geppetto draws the cards and those 2 cards are then sat on the exact right-hand side of your hand, that setup never happens, right? Because the Elise is never going to duplicate that Malagos that you just drew in that world, because it starts from left to right. And
You don't need to
Malagos is on
duplicate the
front.
Malagos. That's just Elise copying 2 Moonfires. That's all.
Oh, just your combo that you explained is 56?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
58.
58, okay.
Which is Elise only copies 2 Moonfires.
Right.
Elise and Malagos came off Geppetto, so they're 2 mana.
Yeah.
You copy 2 Moonfires and just flute the Malagos.
Yeah.
Then 4
10,
Moonfires
20,
and a
30,
swipe.
40, 44, 56, yeah.
58. It's
Why do I keep
44,
doing that?
44 from the Moonfires
44 from
and
the
then
Moonfires,
14 from the
and
swipe.
14 from the swipe, yeah. Gotcha.
Maths.
Oh, now you said it with an S on the end. I understand. Thank
Okay.
you.
So still no Q from ETC, and now the clock is on for Nalguidan because he has 0 cards left in his deck.
Yep.
And there's a crucial piece of the combo that you can't mess up, and you have to play Spell or Jeweler first. Thought I'd throw it out there. Probably not. It's something that's going to be relevant.
Oh my! If it got all the way down to that, and then ETC just jams the Azalina, I quit. Like, you could solo cast the rest of the day at that point.
There's when you're under that much pressure, there's some amount of you that's going to be like, well, I don't want to commit this Spell or Jeweler, so let me just see what's in his hand first. And then you Azalina without thinking, and then you see what's in his hand.
Dream Pearl, Innovate, Flute. It's the line. It's what you're supposed to do if your opponent isn't playing Spellward Jeweler and Azalina in their deck. What's your win condition, right? Your win condition is they just don't have it in their hand right now.
He's got 7 cards left.
Okay, what's a better plan, TJ?
There is none.
Right.
Time waits for no one.
Flower power.
The ETC!
Yes! Yes! I'm sorry, Nalguidan. I know this is a very important matchup for you as well, but this is sick, and I want to see it happen. He's dead. Spellward Jeweler first. Excellent.
Beautiful design.
Your soul is in my hand.
Wait. He still has to deal the damage. It's very easy.
Yeah. You can play it now if you want.
Yeah.
Doesn't really make a difference.
No reason to.
Nope.
ETC's like,
Now, crucially, just in case anyone isn't familiar, this is Battle Cry. Your hero cannot be targeted by spells or hero powers. So it's not like you can just kill the Spell Ward Jeweler and then start slamming them in the face. I guess that's one thing that we haven't actually mentioned, which is incredibly important.
yes.
It's happening, TJ.
Sure, you can go up to a certain life total.
I mean, gain as much health as you can, hope your opponent messes up the combo somehow and doesn't do max damage,
Yeah.
I guess.
So Malagos, Elise, quadruple Moonfire, and Swipe is...
It's the same combo we just talked about, right?
Time waits for
He
no
doesn't
one.
have...
Need a
he
hand,
can't
Explorer?
copy the... Oh, he can just play Hidden Oasis. Yeah. Oh, no, he just has it naturally. No, he would have to play it. See, it's a little more difficult. You Hidden Oasis first, and then you double Malagos quadruple Moonfire?
Sure, yeah. Or swipe first and do the same thing. Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
This would be
you've
a
got
good
so
time
much
for a
overkill.
master
Just, like,
plan.
make sure you duplicate that Malagos.
Yeah, I see 44. The swipe first is 48.
Need a hand, Explorer?
11, 22, 33, 44. It's finally happened. Nalguidan, I'm sorry. I know you wanted the win as much as anyone, but that's sweet, and I'm happy.
Good.
Finally. We saw Spellward Jeweler burned. In Zalae's match, it didn't matter, but still disappointing. We saw it. What was it, Bloody Phase who died with it in hand? Someone died with it in hand yesterday in our matches.
Amnesiac had it against Holy Wrath
Oh,
Paladin
that was
in
Amnesiac,
the late
yeah.
game, but then didn't have board space to actually use it
To actually
effectively
play it.
in the late game.
We've seen it almost be so cool so many times.
Yep.
And we finally get the satisfaction of actually getting to see it in action. Frozen in his winter interview in like week 4 mentioned this as or it might have been, no, it was week 4, mentioned this as like a possibility. He said, I really wanted to bring this combo. And he just mentioned like Azalina Spellward Jeweler, and I just sat there like, what? And then I pieced it together and I was, wow. So finally getting to see it is satisfying.
Yep, and again, we kind of, hyper-focused on that one point because it was really very accurate. Like, we're having fun with it because it's awesome and we're entertained by cool things happening in Hearthstone. But just put yourself in ETC's shoes for a second.
Yeah.
Like, how many times has he tested that? How familiar is he with that position? How well does he know the trigger points and when he's supposed to go, when he's supposed to wait? Because that one choice, do I play it now or don't I, could genuinely flip his whole season.
Yeah, crazy, but it looks like we do have ETC on the line for an interview. Hey, ETC, can you hear us?
Yeah. Hey,
Well-
what's up, guys?
Hey.
Hello. First off,
Hello.
congratulations. That was a very cool last game. How nervous were you in those last few turns?
I cannot tell. It's just never felt so nervous like this. Yeah. Especially after my the first game, my shadow work was pulled by the Taiko bot. I was I was so upset, and it was affected my play. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was affected, and I could not just calm down. And after the first game, I washed my face and just think for a while and. Remember, Eddie told me you have to focus on the game, but not the result. So I just try to calm down and play the rest of the games.
Oh, well, that's great advice. And
Yeah.
It seemed like nerves were a big factor in the last game, but we had a question: how many times have you seen that scenario happen? Like, how many times in practice have you, like, Spellward Jeweler, Aslina Soul Thief, killed your opponent? Is it like a very high success rate? Is it really inconsistent? I want to hear some of your thoughts on that deck specifically.
First of all, I never expected my warrior didn't get banned. I was 99% sure my warrior was gonna be banned, but it didn't ban my warrior. And from my test, it happened like 9 games in 10, because I have a lot of tools to draw. I can draw like almost all of my decks. The worst situation is I didn't draw both of the minions, or I could not draw all of the 2 copies cards, so make the list that is not active.
Oh.
But yeah.
Oh, okay. We didn't even think about that you have to draw all of your duplicates.
Yeah.
Because even though you're copying at least, okay.
Yeah, but from my test, it was not hard.
Okay, all right.
So I was pretty confident with the warrior to beat the druid.
So in your testing, did the druid ever find a way to like sneaky lethal you in ways before you were able to copy it, like have clear setup turns or anything?
So he has the 2 scenarios. The first one is he got the 1 mana Maligos from the Geppetto.
Right.
And I didn't know that, so he could just do the OTK with that. And the second scenario is I just didn't draw both of the minions, or the Elise didn't active. But with the Elise that is not active, I still have chance to do the lethal stuff.
Yeah.
So it's very likely. I mean, yeah.
I don't know if you watched earlier on in the day, but Strife Crow also picked up a win in his match.
Course.
Yeah, of course. So you guys are still tied after this week. How are you feeling going into the last 3 matches, with knowing that you guys are still tied at the bottom there?
To be honest, I just try to not focus on the result. Mm-hmm. That is the only way I can do this. I just try to play every match, like play ladder game. I think that is the best way I can get out of relegation. I just try to not think about it.
All right, well, then I'll stop talking about it so you don't think about it. Once again, ETC, big congratulations on the win. Very cool to watch, especially that last game. And good luck in your next match this weekend.
Thank you very much.